Then he said, right, what is it you're choosing to do with your life? He would say then that when he got on the bike and he went round the day of the Olympics, he forgot where he was until he passed the line. And every day we practice this. But these beliefs are programmed into us, and we hold thousands of beliefs, often without knowing what they are.
Sir David Brailsford, who's been on this podcast, who was the performance director, I believe, of the British cycling team, took over at a time when it was struggling and led it to become maybe the greatest cycling team of all time. He says that your appointment was I quote, the best appointment he's ever made. Now, when I think about, you getting that first call from that first athlete, the one you said was struggling, and then working with Chris Hoy, what exactly are you doing for them?
I think this is like, no matter who comes in the door, say you come to me, what I've got to say is I'm not a sports psychologist, I'm not the specialist. What I am is a specialist in the human mind. So I've made that my career. So I look at how the mind thinks, how it functions, and I ask you to first be a student, really, and I want you to learn your unique mind. I'm going to give you the blueprint, then together we're going to work out how you perceive the world, perceive yourself, perceive others, what do you want to do with your life. When we've done all of that, then, and only then, would I ask to go into your world. So then we can apply what you've learned. So it was interesting that two people I worked with who were public again were Vicky Pendleton, who was probably still the world's most successful female sprinter on the bike, and then Ronnie O'Sullivan in snooker. And both were interviewed, and they both said that to the press. They said, he did not take us to sport, he took us to ourselves and worked with us as people. And so that we got in a good place, then we went to sport. Then he said, right, what is it you're choosing to do with your life? And then I have to learn then, because obviously if you take me to your world, I don't know your world. So I've got to go in there and learn what it is you're experiencing, how you're interpreting it. It's a teamwork, and then I have to test things out. So that's basically what I did when I started working with Chris Hoy. I asked him what he was wanting to do, what was he finding easy, what was he finding difficult, and then try and work out what I felt he needed to do and how he managed his mind. And then I keep pushing this point. It is a skill. You've got to acquire it. So I don't have, other people might be able to do a process. I can't do that. What I do is ask you to work with me and try things out where you're gaining a skill. For example, a skill of recognizing whether your emotion is actually helpful or unhelpful, whether you can remove the emotion or need to work with it, or whether you can actually just dismiss it and learn how to move yourself on. And so it's a skill to be able to recognize things and then know how to deal with that particular thing that you're experiencing.
Could you give me a case study from one athlete you've worked with? So that will allow me to work through that process of first identifying the emotion, potentially working on whether it's positive or negative, how it's serving me, and then how you might, with your process, lead me to a positive outcome, a productive outcome.
Well, I'm going to pick Chris Hoy and Ronnie O'Sullivan on the grounds that both of them are very public about working with me, and they put out what I'm about to talk about. So when I worked with Chris, what he was saying, he was doing the kilo at the time, which is 4 laps on a bike, but it's very similar to doing 400 meters, where you've got to get the pace judgment right. If you go off too fast, you burn out and you won't finish. And if you go off too slow, you'll never get the ground back. So it's a really tough event. So in the kilo, I had to learn that, which wasn't too hard because I'm familiar with 400 meters. So, and then when I did that, I have to test out what his beliefs are. When he sets off on the bike, where is he putting his focus? And that's what Chris was saying is, when I set off on the bike, my focus can be distracted and it will drift off, and I might start thinking about what other people have just done when I'm watching my competitors, or am I going fast enough? And you start to do an analysis. Now, in his particular event, what I said to him is, it's not going to help you to do an analysis in this event. Some sport it is, because you have a breathing space where you can analyze and then get back into what I call computer mode. So he needs to program his mind to have a fixed leg speed, a fixed markers on the track, so that he's not thinking at all. There's no analysis. That was my summary of it. So we tried that out. So when he went to the Olympics, everything was completely learning to switch off any thinking and analysis. And that's not easy, easier said than done. But we practiced this. So on the holding camp, which there's like a 3-week camp before the Olympics, I went to the holding camp in Newport with him. And every day we practice this. So we do 20 minutes of him learning to focus. And then we had specifics on the bike for when he got on it to do this kilo. And to me, he was an excellent student, clearly. He committed to it. And he would say then that when he got on the bike and he went round the day of the Olympics, he forgot where he was until he passed the line. So to me, that's like you're in complete focus mode. So again, credit to Chris.
Why is switching off his mind in such a way, or focusing his mind in such a way, or why is that?
The neuroscience is complex, so I'm going to cut corners and do it very black and white and simplified. Okay. It's complex, but in a nutshell, there are 3 systems in your head, keeping it very simple. It's much more complex than that, but simplifying it. One of the systems will help you think very logically, and I call that the human system. It thinks logically, but it's very slow, which means if you operate with a human, your body and your reflexes will slow down because you're analysing as you go along, and it slows the system, so you're more pensive. So that's really good in certain circumstances, but it's awful in fast-moving sports. So if he goes into that, it's very likely he'll slow down. It's not going to help him. If he goes into the second system, which we'll probably come back to, the chimp system, this is a primitive system which thinks. It's more than just a reaction, an impulsive system. It thinks. When it moves, it can move at speed, but it thinks emotionally. So this is the part of his brain that will think thoughts that are not helpful, such as, should I go faster at this point? And then it may make a decision to go faster and burn out. So that would be crazy. Finally, the third system is a computer. It just needs programming. The key to the computer, particularly in sports, is it moves so fast, it's approximately 20 times quicker than the human system to execute, and it's about 4 times quicker than the chimp system. So if you get into computer mode, particularly in fast-moving sports, it doesn't analyse or think. It's automatic thinking. So it works with keys like a computer.
Is that the autopilot?
Exactly. It's an autopilot. Okay. You're programmed. It's a behaviour that's programmed in. But
so when I came down the stairs to see you today, I know the route. I've done it 100 times. Yeah. So I was holding my iPad, but I was on autopilot as I came down the stairs and walked.
Your body knows what to do. You don't need to think. Whereas if we put an obstacle in there, then it will stop.
Okay.
Because it doesn't know what to do. It's not programmed.
Okay.
But you'll have to think then.
Is the computer where our habit system?
It's habit formation, yes. All 3 do work together, but the computer is one that just blots out the other 2, or if they go silent, it can operate. And it's the computer that drives us to work, or like you say, it goes on a familiar track. But it can also generate automatic thinking.
Okay.
So when you meet somebody, your chimp may start to think, is this person going to like me? Am I going to come across okay? Or it could give you anything. Whereas the computer system is automatic. So if you've programmed a belief that everybody loves me, then it's much more likely when you meet people, you're going to be very open and your body language will be positive. If you have, I'm being severe, obviously.
Of course.
If you have a belief nobody likes me or I'm not as good as everyone else, which unfortunately a lot of computers are programmed with that, then whenever you meet someone, you're on edge. And you're very conscious about what you're saying and doing because you feared that it's going to be the truth, that they don't like you, and you're trying to overcome that belief, which is so unhelpful. Now, that I call the gremlin. But these beliefs are programmed into us, and we hold thousands of beliefs, often without knowing what they are.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favour. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.